Okay, guys, so we're going to start into factoring, which is like a four-letter word for most students, but we're going to start first with some number sense and then some reviews from yesterday just to get us thinking, because I think you're smarter and better at factoring than you have any idea. It's just you don't look at it from the perspective and the sides where you do know what you're doing. So first and foremost, we are going to multiply the binomials, which is a review from yesterday. So binomial, remember, is two terms, and I'm going to use the box method. So x plus 2 and 2x squared minus 3. So we're going to fill in our box. 2x squared times x is going to be 2x to the third. 2x squared times 2 is going to be 4x squared. Then x times negative 3 is negative 3x. And negative 3 times 2 is negative 6. Now, yesterday, all our examples, we had like terms here. In this case, there's nothing to necessarily combine. So we just pull our answer out, and that's how we are going to know what our answer is. So 2x to the third. And we're going to put it in standard form. So 3, 2, so plus a positive 4x squared. 1, so minus 3x, and then last but not least, our constant minus 6. So that is the product of those two binomials. So we've been taking the binomials on the outside of the box and then multiplying in. So our challenge for today is we're going to work backwards from our box method. So we're going to take the box method and work out. So now we don't have the factors, we have the inside of the box. So the question is what did I multiply together to get x squared? Well, x times x gives me x squared. Then what, if these go here, then what did I multiply x by to get a 2x? Because that's what would go out here. So again, we're working backwards and working out. So positive 2 times x gives me 2x. So now we have a binomial for the top. So that's our factor. So one of our factors is going to be x plus 2. And then we got to figure out what goes down here. So x times what gives me a negative 5x. Negative 5 times x gives me negative 5x. And we want to check it. Negative 5 times 2 does give us negative 10. So we're right. So our second factor is x minus 5. So again, we are just discussing number sense and working in and out of the box and working with binomials. In this case, because it's an x squared, this will be the quadratic. And the quadratic here, if we combine our like terms, it will be x squared minus 3x minus 10. So when x squared minus 3x minus 10 is factored, your answer should be x plus 2, x minus 5. So this is using a box method to come out. So we're still talking about factoring. We're just talking about it from a different place and in a different organizational method. So we'll get to the actual factoring part later. Right now, we're just thinking about numbers. So then again, pause the video if you want to. Try this one. X times x gives me x squared. 2 times x gives me 2x. Negative 4 times x. So when I work way in, it gives you that negative 4x. And then we check it. Negative 4 and 2 gives us that negative 8. So our factors in this case, it would be x plus 2, x minus 4. So those are the factors of the quadratic. Let's put this together. So x squared. Our like terms is a negative 4x and a positive 2x. So it's minus 2x minus 8. So in Math 1, in previous classes, they gave you this problem and said factor it. If you did it correctly, you should get this out. But again, we're just using our box. All right, we have one more. So this time it's not x squared. But we know there is an x squared there. It's x and x. So what times what will give me 3? 3 only has the factors of 1 and 3. So it's the only things you can multiply together to get 3. But we need to figure out which side has the 1 and which side has the 3. And we might have to move it around a little bit. Well, obviously, if the 3 was here, then this would have to have a 3 in it, or a factor of 3, or a multiple of 3. So in this case, the 3 is going to go up here because 3 will give me 3, and then 3 times something will give me 18 because 3 times 6 gives me 18. And then 1, because that gives me my 3x squared. And 1x times something could give me negative x, so that would be our negative 1. So that's looking good. So negative 1, positive 1x gives me negative x. 3x. So basically you're dividing. 18x divided by 3x would give me 6, because 6 times 3 gives me 18, and there's our x. And then 6 times negative 1 gives me a negative 6. So our factors are 3x minus 1 and x plus 6. Then the quadratic is 3x squared. Then we have our like terms here that we need to combine. So plus 17x minus 6 would be the quadratic. So you got a couple of those on your bell ringer. And then we have some factoring x puzzles. So different places call it the x, factoring by diamond, factoring by x. There's also Magic Diamond if you look it up on Google or on YouTube for more practice. But the idea is you have your x, and then in the top, these two factors multiply what is sitting in the top, and they add to give what's in the bottom. So since I have a 5 and a 10, I'm going to multiply up here, and it's going to add here. So 5 times 10 is 50, and 5 plus 10 is 15. So I have a negative 6 and a positive 7. So we're going to multiply them together to get up here, and then add them together to get our number at the bottom. 6 times 7 is 42, but one of them is negative. So it's going to be negative 42. Add them together and get a positive 1. So we're filling in our x puzzle. Again, this is not factoring, but these are skills and number senses that will make factoring much easier once we get our brains going in the right direction. Now, this is still our x, or Magic Diamond, or Big X, or however you want to call it. So this is your multiplication. This is your plus, but our blanks are in the different spot now. So I added something. I multiplied 4 by something to get 36. So if I divide 36 by 4, that's what will go over here. So 36 divided by 4 would be 9. And again, that's because 4 times 9 give me 36. Now 4 plus 9 gives me 13, what goes in the bottom of my x. So they did the same thing over here, but they switched the sides. So 10 times something gives me a negative 4, D. Or negative 40 divided by 10 is what? Because remember, multiplication and division are inverses of each other. So it just depends on which way makes sense in your brain. Remember, this is the product of these two, and down here will be the sum of these two factors. So I'm going to go with a negative 4, because a negative 4 times 10 gives me negative 40. And then negative 4 plus 10 gives me a positive 6. All right, one more. So then we've got 12 times something gives me 72, or 72 divided by 12 gives me something. So I'm going to pause the video, and then you pause the video and you see if you can figure this one out real quick. So 72 divided by 12 is going to give us 6, but we need a negative, so we're going to make this a negative 6, because negative 6 times 12 gives us a negative 72. Then I'm going to add these together, and I get a positive 6 on the bottom. So remember, multiply on top, add on the bottom. These are our factors. All right. Last but not least, got one more page. So now it's looking like factoring if you used x. Usually you did this when a was equal to 1. And then this would be your c value, and this will be your b value. So ax squared plus bx plus c. So c goes here, or a times c goes here, and b goes here, just to see the correlation to where this is going. But for right now, I need two numbers that multiply to give me negative 9, but will add or subtract to give me 8. So we can think about our factors of 9, and that's 9 and 1 and 3 and 3. 9 and 1, if I put them together, if I subtracted the 1, I get 8. 3 and 3, there's no way I can put those together to get 8. So we're going to put a 9 and a 1. 8 is positive, so the bigger of the two numbers will stay positive. So 9 minus 1, or plus a negative, is 8. 9 times a negative 1 is a negative 9. So we're going to do the same thing for negative 24 and 5. So remember, this is your sum. This is your multiple. So if we look and see, what do we multiply together to get negative 24? We could do 1 and 24, 2 and 12, 4 and 6. What else? 7 and... Nope, no 7. 3 and 8. And I believe I found the one that I want. So we're going to multiply to give me a negative. So 8 and 3. So 2 and 12, I can either have, it'll give me either 10 or 14 if I add it or subtract it. 4 and 6 will either give me 10 if I add it, and then if I subtract it, I would get 2. 3 and 8 will give me 11 or 5. There's that 5 we were looking for. So if we use 8 and 3, we need it to be a negative number, but the sum has to be positive. So the small number is going to be negative. So 8 plus a negative 3, or 8 minus 3, does give us a positive 5, and 8 times a negative 3 gives us a negative 24. Last but not least, multiples of 28 that will add or subtract to give you 16. So we have 1 and 28, 2 and 14. I think this is already it, because 2 and 14 are 16. Now, some of these you really want to keep going and make sure you have all your possible factors, because sometimes there's a 1 or 2 that look like they're both good options, and you have to pick which one's the best option. So in this case, we're going to have 14 and 2. They multiply together to give me a positive 28, and if I add them both positive together, they give me a positive 16. So there we go, guys. That's your number sense, and hopefully going to get your brain working towards getting to where we can factor in a little bit. Have a great day.